welcome to Design or Design. My name is Maria and today this is the most exciting video of the Spring-Summer 2025 season because it's the fashion trends, the actual clothing that we're talking about. And let's get in. It's gonna be a long ride. Get a cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee or a different beverage, and let's get started. The first trend that I want to talk about is the opposites trends, the combination of things that shouldn't be combined. So in the examples from the runways, we have the really extravagant dresses paired with very maybe sporty jackets. Maybe they're like really oversized, like worker jackets, windbreakers, you name it. We see this in several shows like Prada, Burberry, Michael Kors, Miu Miu, as well as Zimmermann, and I believe there is some in Jacquemus. This is a fun trend, and for anybody who loves to spice up their style with really dramatic different styles, pairing them together, this one is for you. I for sure love this idea, but I just don't have the kind of jacket to pull this off. But anyways, let's move on to the next trend. And this one is one of the largest ones. And we see really kind of maximalist wardrobe. More is more, basically. We see maybe very metallicized, bright suiting like in Saint Laurent. We see so many blazers in this very bright coloring with some golden or silver threads that just make it stand out really, really well. In Schiaparelli, we see more of that metal threads, or might be like a metal print on top of the garment. So when you stretch it out, it has more of the breaks, as well as very over embellished. I don't want to say bedazzled, but you can say there's so much texture to the garment through the use, maybe large sequins of some sort, or embroidery with different fabrics on top of it. We also see this in maybe the texture of the garment being made out of beads or different kind of things. A completely ordinary coat is bedazzled with crystals. Maybe this is the lapels on the blazer that are adorned with some kind of rocks, or the full suit being very glimmery and out there. Loewe had this mother of pearl situation happening on a couple of their jackets, as well as sequins there too. Mugler once again had one of those really artistic 3D designs. In Jill Sanders, we see this going onto the model's shoulders, with the dress being quite ordinary on its own, but the shoulders were just glistening. We see this in both the men's and women's shows with maybe some kind of over texturized blazers or shimmering tops. We also see maybe just the detailing of a garment with either some kind of beadwork or just the material being very shiny and very, expensive looking. In Prada, they kind of did a little bit of a grungier situation with like rings on the dresses and the skirts. Versace had the metallic disco balls as skirts, dresses, as well as corset tops, and also going for like a smaller metallized, I don't know if it is metallized, it must be heavy on there. I'm so sorry for the model. We also see Stella McCartney crystallizing a really regular denim top and jeans. And Balmain had such a long variety of these gorgeous gowns with portraits on them, all made from embroidered beads. This is insane. This is not the first we see this from Balmain in their ready to wear, which is incredible. Like, what's the manpower that goes into this? This is more like haute couture right here, but no, they're here and they're pretty cool. I feel like these pieces would be definitely on a pricier edge because of just the labor that goes into it. Maybe what we could take away from it is not throwing out our sequins dresses like here in Burberry, or just adorning our own pieces with some extra details like brooches, finding that print that is more maximalist in nature, or going thrifting for some special pieces. We see this in Ellie Sab as well, with more of the details embroidered in beads and stones. Really beautiful work, really expensive, really time consuming. This would definitely be one of those pieces that you wear for a special occasion. Maybe if it's in a blazer format, then it would be easier to tone down with more of a relaxed fit, but these are out there, they're quite incredible. Miu Miu had more of that everyday kind of dresses with the sequins in different sizes. Off-White had more of a street style wear with them. And of course we have Valentino with the more maximalist style. This definitely is for the maximalist. This could go with boho, with glam style, eclectic style for sure. And finish up with Simon Roche with those sweater things. I just wonder how prickly they are. All right, moving on to Demure. Okay, so we see quite an outrageous things on the runway just before, but now we still see that feminine silhouette that I've been talking about. Something a little bit more quieter, something maybe a little bit more hourglass or a simpler shape. We also see more of like daintier suiting, maybe a little bit more of the emphasis on the waistline and the hips. This is a little bit more for feminine wear for sure, but we do see some designers going for menswear with some kind of emphasis on hips as well. Mugler had so many of these with super tailored blazers, dresses with crazy hips and really snatched midsection. What we can do is maybe belt our blazers that we already have, maybe go for that classic sweater and a pencil skirt, just something very simple and ladylike, old money style, very subtle luxury pieces that don't scream money, but you know, it's expensive. We have some of the coats that brings me back to the 60s with very simple cuts and easy silhouettes. We also see this in dresses and combinations of blouses and skirts. We also see just very feminine figures. Even Gucci had those puff skirts that emphasize the hips to make a little bit more of that hourglass shape. All right, next one is for the people who love street style, and it is moto. So motorcycle accessories, motorcycle jackets mostly. We see them being in a variety of manners. We see them kind of the biker jacket as well as more of a sporty one. In Moschino, we see a bag simulating a biker helmet. Yes, it is a bag. We see it in variety of shows. Loewe even had just a biker as a print on their shirt, and Dior had quite a plethora of the kind of a sportier motorcycle jackets. They also had the 2-finger gloves. This is more for archery, but it could also pull off as a more moto vibes as well. Leather jackets with that kind of a feel of a racer. We also see this being taken a little bit more subtle, like here in Tory Burch, as well as Mugler, a little bit more on the grungy, oversized manner. Here, Balenciaga, of course, they're gonna do an oversized one. Gucci had a few jackets and a lot of the gloves in this motorcycle style. No finger gloves with little holes on the knuckles. We see also a few of the smaller jackets, and we do see this tendency. We just had like the crazy oversized trend for these jackets, and now we're seeing the reverse of them being very fitted as well. So it's just completely up to you. If you have this jacket, do take them out and wear them. Next one up are the skirts and pants trends. The Y2K aesthetic is coming, and it's been here. I've talked about it in a few previous videos, and here we are again. We see the matching of the pants and maybe skirts or dresses, or more like an open dress like here in Etro. We see a little bit more laid back ones in Fendi as well as Jill Sanders. We also see this in Moschino with kind of having a tail thing. I'm not even sure if it's a skirt or if it's a part of the blazer. Saint Laurent had more of these really bohemian type of eclectic pajama sets, but the top being a little bit longer, therefore it's here. Balmain had, I feel like this is a one piece, like the pants and the mini skirt, because they're all in exactly the same color, and it reminds me a little bit of a peplum trend that we've had before, and we're going to be talking about it a little bit later too. We also see this in more of a modern take. In Diesel, we have denim on denim. We see some bandanas or scarves wrapped around the waist. This is another great way to wear this trend, and I've seen this happening on the social media platforms. A lot of people are doing it, so it's a great way to wear your scarves and try this trend for yourself without buying anything else. We also see more of it in Missoni, Valentino for men's. Yes, men can do this for sure. We also see so many, maybe with a capri pants instead of a full-on long pants. Or here we have, I'm not even sure if it's a separate thing or if it's a really long coat over top or not. Even really outrageous puffy gowns over a pair of wide leg trousers. Let's get into the asymmetric, and this is definitely one of the biggest ones I've seen just because I've collected so much of it on here. And let's start with the asymmetric hemlines. So there were so many dresses with the hem either being kind of like the waterfall, having the longer at the back and shorter at the front, or diagonally having like one leg more showing than the other, or having a square hem and then it just falls with the four corners being the hem itself. We see this in quite a few different shows. I am actually wearing the only thing that I have that is asymmetric at the top. Just for this video, I couldn't find anything else. But we see so many shows that had this effect in their skirts, in their dresses, even some tops. We have quite long dresses with this effect, maybe it's just simple, and as well as some really short dresses. Here in JW Anderson, we have the extra being knotted. I don't feel like that's going to be the most comfortable thing, but you never know. We have some tulip skirts here in off-white. We also seen them in Stella McCartney, having the hemline opening up in the center front and just cascading down. So once again, having a shorter in the front and longer in the back. Schiaparelli with some of the longer dresses like that as well. We also see the more simpler Tory Burch dresses here with, once again, those angles. And Alexander McQueen show had a lot of layering of fabrics to achieve this look again, and they were all wacky. They were not straight at all. Either it was a tail on it, or maybe the side of it was longer, or once again cascading one. We also see in Ardem more of that train going down and just on the ground. Who cares when you have money, right? We have it in Mugler, more of that extra tail. Once again, really interesting, really powerful. Louis Vuitton here with another knot on the dresses. Yeah, I sometimes wear things like that if it's in the way, but it's not the most comfortable. Here in Acne Studios, we once again have this difference in the skirt length, either a side tail or a back tail or everywhere tail. Erdem had more of a bohemian vibe to there. Of course, it's their DNA, and more ruffles and more of that raw hem lines, as well as Isabel Marant having this bohemian feel to it. Zimmermann here as well. We'll be seeing some of these designs in other things that I'm going to be mentioning later in the video, so stay tuned. We see, once again, either it is a cascading or one leg showing dress or a skirt. It doesn't really matter. Diesel had really layered looks to their bottoms, whether it was the scarves tied around. Moving on to tops being asymmetric, and we see here having maybe a longer front rather than the back, and then having a shorter back. Pretty cool. We also have Stella McCartney with a long-tailed top, as well as Zimmermann with the longer at the back, and the Victoria Beckham show. Moving on to more asymmetrical necklines. These are quite popular and for sure is a great fit if you have really large broad shoulders that you want to camouflage. This is a perfect example for you. Just wear something asymmetrical on your shoulders, especially if it's like a one shoulder thing. Then it hides the wideness of your shoulders, brings the attention not horizontally but more vertically. This is a great thing to do. But if you have too much of interest in your shoulder area, then it is going to cause more attention to it. If it's like a one arm situation, that's also really great. If it is a two arm situation, then I don't know. We see an amazing dress from Jacquemus with the glove. I love it. And there are some gowns that are asymmetric at the top as well as at the bottom. So we see a lot of really great dresses from Alaïa having, I'm not even sure how they're made, but they're holding on for their dear life in there. Very complicated structure for sure. And they're really, really cool. So we see maybe one shoulder and one leg open, or a cascading something with an interesting neckline like here in Ferragamo. We also see that in Stella McCartney, Christopher Esber as well. We also see this in Victoria Beckham. I believe these are molded dresses with the use of epoxy. We see a lot of that experimentation online, and I am in love with these pieces and I really want one. If you're making them, let me know. I can promote you here for a nice top for myself. The only thing is they're always making them on smaller molds, and I haven't seen a bigger mold for myself. Anyways, the extent to asymmetry is so great that we have in several shows having one pant. Like for instance here in Bottega Veneta, we have kind of a skirt pant combo with one of the legs being inside of a pant leg and the other one being in a skirt, or the skirt being worn over and just the one pant leg is sticking out. We also see something along the lines with the courageous of the skirt wrapping around one of the legs. This is actually brilliant for me as I have chafing issues when I wear dresses and skirts. So if I have a simple block of materials in there, I'm set. Like what Summers? I don't know her. Moschino had the one sleeve with asymmetric hemline, and Victoria Beckham had one pant leg being cut open and having this peekaboo with the knee. It's interesting. I wonder if it can zip up and be this and that. I would definitely get that, but if it's constantly open, I don't know if I would go for it, honestly. Moving on to another hem trend, and it's a bubble hem. I know we've seen a lot of bubble skirts out there and about, but it doesn't have to be just the skirts. We see so many little shorts in a bubble format, very bohemian, very cutesy pie. It could be really great for the very feminine, girly aesthetic as well. Just think about the combination of the clothes. Maybe if you already have the skirt, how would you re-wear it so it looks a little bit more fresh and not like hundreds and thousands of posts on Instagram right now. We also see more of the longer hems having that bubble-esque effect with the garment being such a cloud-esque esque appearance. We see in J.W. Anderson a little bit of a different take of more of a sculptured bubble. We also see it in Nina Ricci having this almost a tutu-like dress, and sometimes the hem isn't that obvious, but it is kind of picked up and rounded in dresses, skirts. We see here in Marni a little bit more on the voluminous, a longer side, almost like a ball there. Alaya had several of these in a more longer version, longer silhouettes with a little bit of a drop waist happening. We also see this in Alexander McQueen, Stella McCartney with several shorter dresses, as well as the cascading one. We also see it in Victoria Beckham in several of their gowns, kind of having the same structural elements of the wires in there, but different lengths, which I love. We also see it in Ferragamo, not quite a bubble hem, but really close to it. So it's gathered at the bottom with an elastic that gives that cocoon effect to the dresses, and a little bit more sporty in Acne Studios. Burberry with their shimmering dresses, kind of a bubble hem fringe, I would say. All right, next one is Boudoir lace. I love this trend, and I feel like it will take you through different seasons as well, not just the spring summer. Maybe spring summer is more weather appropriate, but I can see this happening in fall winter as well. We see several shows having like really committed to actual almost lingerie kind of styles, but worn out. I'm way more about more of a modern take on it. Like we see here in Nina Ricci, David Coma, Alexander McQueen, having more of that lacy aesthetic, but in a more realistic everyday wear. Okay, Alexander McQueen may not be the example, but you can see what I'm talking about. Another thing that you could wear for sure, it would be the nightgowns. We see the lace coming around the V-neck line. We also see it at the bottom of the hems. We see maybe a little bit of a pajama sets with the little shorts with lace detailing as well. We see just the full nightgown-esque aesthetic with more details that a regular nightgown would not have. Maybe some rhinestones, maybe some more details, more ribbons, and etc. Here in Versace, we have some very soft spring colors in this examples. We also see more of the risque versions in Stella McCartney, something much more transparent than just the regular one. And yeah, the slips being worn as dresses with a little bit more idea. This definitely can take you in a variety of different styles, but this for sure screams to me bohemian one, of course, depending on the style of dress that you have. We see it in Chloe, we see it in Valentino with way more eclectic, kind of a millionaire ex-wife kind of a feel. We also see a little bit more sporty and a funny take on it from Miu Miu, having the little strings dangling off the top. And we also have a few of the designs with just the little cheeky peak of the lace coming from the bottom of the hemline. Also a few designs of just full-on lace gowns. I decided to put them here just because, yeah, you don't have a power over me. But if you really didn't like it, then let me know. I won't do it again. Okay, next one we're going to be talking about is the bralette. Not quite far away from the boudoir, right? We have quite a variety of bralettes, either really classical bra, like in Dolce & Gabbana, the iconic cone bras from Madonna. And quick question, do you think this is a stealing of the design because they did not come up with this? Or is this inspiration from Madonna herself? I'm not sure. Anyways, so more of the bigger kind of a vintage type bras on the runways, like here in Prada. We also see this a little bit more put together and a wrap bandana type things in Schiaparelli. We also see some interesting takes of different designs. Maybe they're a little bit on a transparent side, lace but a lot of really wide, simple bralettes. Like here in Alaya, we also see this in Gucci, Off-White, as well as Courageous. Just a simple line covering your bust. That is all you need. Depending on your size, this might not be enough to hide everything or to hold anything. So it is completely up to you. We also have some bikini style tops on the runways from Diesel, as well as Ali Sab and many other shows. We also see a little bit more of the bohemian trend with more lace and frills on there as well, and a lot more of the transparent ones. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that, honestly. Next trend is soft dressing. We see so many designers going for very flowy, very easy, carefree styles on the runways with lots of material or very shapeless wear. Sometimes they did like belt it up or something, but it is a lot. Moschino had almost like bedding was just wrapped around the models and tied in knots. We see Stella McCartney with very flowy, transparent fabrics, just being very loosely on the top. Sometimes there are accents on the waistlines, but then there would be a really flowy skirt or flowy sleeves as well. We see Michael Kors here with the really long and flowy dress, as well as Nina Ricci. Etro, Loewe had several of really large. I don't even know if this fits the bill because it does have structure to the skirt itself. You can see like the hoop keeping it up and about, and yeah, it is a lot. We see Saint Laurent having really long maxi dresses and skirts. I love this. This is much more of a bohemian style coming from them here in Chloe as well, of these gorgeous bubble hem, as I mentioned before, dresses that are just flowing across, and they could be on a smaller side as well, as long as there's enough of that fabric to just float around in the air and just, you know, free birds. This is also seen in Valentino and Zimmermann shows. Of course they would. Next trends would be the frills, and I'm honestly right away thinking about the boho trend, but no, there were several designers that are a little bit more street style, a little bit more straight cut, but still using this, like Alexander McQueen, David Coma, Jill Sanders, and Tory Burch. Very interesting takes on some of these. Louis Vuitton also had a dress in that manner, as well as Simon Rocha, but Simon Rocha, come on, they're all about it. We also have these frills and twirly things in Bottega Veneta, more in their skirts, having more volume to it, and those really feminine details. Like here in Celine, very old money aesthetic, quite preppy as well. And these frills could be on a smaller side or larger ones. Here we see in Nina Ricci either the material just made out of them, or it was more of an accent on the garment as well. We see a lot of it at Valentino. Most of it came from Valentino. They had these clown-esque collars that were very frilly indeed, or multi-level skirts with different tiers of these frills. And this is definitely bohemian, definitely really feminine trend, romantic trend for sure. Lots of gowns and a lot of male models as well rocking this on their collars or some kind of a detailing on their garments as well. We see this, of course, in Zimmermann. Yes, this is definitely a bohemian trend and a really easygoing one. They have adorned so many beautiful garments that just give outfits this beautiful movement and volume. I'm not much of a frilzy person, but you know what? I'm up for a challenge. Anyways, next trend is the sheer trend. We have seen this trend for a while now, and it doesn't seem like it's going away anytime soon. We see the sheer layering in Dolce & Gabbana over top of maybe some kind of lingerie, or having just a sheer skirt, or having a sheared over layer of like suiting or a coat that is sheer on top. Or the sheer elements are layered together to make a gradient. This is a beautiful example in Mugler. We also see it on men's show, like in Louis Vuitton, having a bottom layer, a sheer layer. This is really cool. I quite like it. In Dior as well, their Prada had some layers of the skirts or dresses being in sheer. David Coma, just a few sheer dresses. Fendi had several dresses in sheer, or like a sheer covering of a dress. I'm not sure if it's two different garments or if it is a single garment put together. Lots of skirts in sheer, so that trend is still happening. I just got into it, and for spring summer it's a perfect occasion to try it out again. We also see Schiaparelli having gowns in this really stretchy sheer with even corsetry happening in this fabric, which is really difficult to achieve. We also see lots of really long silhouettes, really interesting combinations, either a mesh like we see here in Alaya, or a very, very fine fabric, or even lace. And the sheerness can be applied to basically any style. It just depends on maybe the print of it, on the cut of it, on your preference to how much skin you want to show, because it's completely not for everybody. And we see models on the runway with their breasts being revealed, and this is not an everyday thing for us for sure, but I feel like as a layering piece it adds a lot more interest, a lot more drama, and I quite like it. And it could be seductive like in Jacquemus, or playful like in Simon Rocha. Very girly, very cutesy, and yeah, I feel like this trend is completely for anybody to experiment with. And we've seen some really risque examples on the runways, as well as very feminine and demure examples like here in Erdem. It could be a skirt over like an etro here, or a pair of see-through pants with some longer top covering the middle section, or it could be like a beach cover up. This is definitely a bohemian trend as well, as it's so hot at the moment with brands like Isabel Marant, Chloe, Valentino, and Zimmermann all really going for it. The sheer covering also works as a filter for your skin. So maybe it's the summertime and you don't want to show your legs because you're worried about cellulite or some other skin problems, then having this sheerness over it will give you this filter through which all of these imperfections aren't as visible. And it also can correct figure as well, as when the layers go around your body, they tend to become either lighter or darker depending on giving you a contouring effect. All right, next trend would be fringe. And we see fringe for a while as well. I feel like every single season there is something fringy out there on the runways. Here in Dolce & Gabbana, it's a little bit more glamour, a little bit more shine, while in Gucci and men's show, we see it worn in a little bit more of an everyday wear and style. We also see this being in gowns, a shorter fringe, and a much longer fringe, like here in the Louis Vuitton skirts, which might be very dangerous to wear out and about. Kenzo had a bunch of shawls that had really long fringe, and you can try something like this too if you have a shawl at home. Just tie it around and see how you feel, because this is a little bit more manageable than what we see on the runways for sure. We also see in Ferragamo that is connected in both sides, which can be a little bit tricky and dangerous. We also see more of a messy fringe like here in Alexander McQueen with the chains. Beautiful garments, but I'm just worried how heavy they are, honestly. Dior also had quite a large number of the skirts, bathing suits, and etc. I wonder if it's an addition to it or if it is a garment on its own. Moschino was another big fan of the fringe. They had several different examples, like the tiered dresses with fringe and lettering. They also had the little sticks on the dress, as well as the fringe like moto oversized coats, which were really cool and exciting. We also see Stella McCartney in different varieties of fringe. Bottega Veneta had a lot of little tassels on their skirts and the interesting headwear. I'm not sure if this is something truly wearable. I wonder how it feels like, and a really fancy boa here too. And the little matches, those are really cool. I wonder how they are to sit in. We see Diesel with more of their distressed denim fringes, as well as garments that looked as if they were put through shredder, but not fully, and just all of that fringed around the neckline. Really powerful statement. And honestly, when it comes to fringe, I always think boho Western style, but right now we've just been looking at very modern takes on the fringe, and nothing screams boho in anything that we've seen so far. We also see some really ladylike examples in Michael Kors here. In Missoni, there's lots of fringe elements in the outerwear, in the dressing, and it is really crazy and out there. Definitely fringe adds more to your figure, so think about that. Maybe if you are reverse triangle, and having fringe on the bottoms would be a really great solution for you. And if you are trying to hide something, like for instance, if you have really big shoulders, then don't put it on the shoulders, because you're not hiding, you're increasing the volume of your shoulders that way. Next trend we're going to be talking about is the drop waistline. Yes, I'm not the biggest fan of this, just because I have really big hips, and no matter which dress I try, it just does not look great on me. But we do have some quite fitted silhouettes with a dropped waistline that might work out, because they do show your silhouette of like your hourglass, and then they have the extra addition of the material on the thickest part of the butt area. We also see J.W. Anderson, a little bit more of the kind of everyday style. We see a lot of coats with the dropped waistline. I'm not sure if this is the right fit for me. We see it in Ferragamo as well as Acne Studios, as well as just wearing a really low rise something. That would also work as a drop, honestly. Bottega Veneta had more of these interesting folds, almost looking like a peplum, but not quite. The Elias bubble skirts that I mentioned, they definitely have that lowered waistline effect, as well as Jacquemus denim dress. Peplum, yes, I've been mentioning it, leaving some crumbs for you during the video, but here we go. We see a few peplum items on the runways still. They could really bring back the Y2K or the 2010s aesthetic for sure. At least that is when I wore it, the more of the 2010s. And we see them in a variety of different styles, like in Dress Van Noten, a little bit more everyday wear, while in Nina Ricci, it's quite more fancy. We also see a lot of jackets that have this effect of like a double jacket. So it could be a zippable, and you can remove the bottom layer and have a cropped jacket, or if this is how they look. So they have these extensions on the sides that kind of add more volume to the hip area. And that is what I feel like the peplum does. For instance, here in Off-White, it was both in men's and women's outfits. They were ranging in sizes, and a really cool take on a peplum trend. We also see this in Victoria Beckham. Erdem had more of this really gorgeous dressing with these kind of bow-like structure in the front. Alaya had several of them. We also see several of these in the outerwear in Gucci. Balmain. Okay, well, these are not quite peplum, but they're crazy hips, so I wanted to feature them here because they're quite crazy. Next trend that I'm going to be talking about is the neckline draping. We see a lot of a boat cut or one shoulder, and having this material, either a scarf or the material itself draped around the neckline. It could be in tops, it could be in dresses, in blouses. We see them all. Another way of wearing it that we could do ourselves is to just wrap our sweaters around it. Like here in Acne Studios, several models loves wearing it like that, with like two shirts of the same color and one just being draped over it. Really cool idea for everyday life for sure. Stella McCartney had more of the draping, and this is definitely more intentional than just a shirt around the neckline, but you can also work around with a simple light summer scarf or wearing something backwards. It will definitely give you that effect of it being closer to the neck. Here in Michael Kors, we even have really lifted colors. This is strange, but it is here.
This does, however, make your look a little bit more frumpier and shortens your neck quite a bit.
Okay, next trend is a little bit surprising for spring summer, but I just put it in here because it is going to be big in fall winter. Let me tell you, furs. We either have full-on furs or just being adorned with furs like in the Prada show, or it could be a teddy fur. I'm not sure which brand has what. I haven't dived deep enough to know this, but we see it in men's show for Louis Vuitton. We see it in Balenciaga paired with lingerie. We see it in Chloe in different colors and designs. The one show that had so much of it in the boa format was Valentino, and boa is the trend to look out for the next season to come. This is just a foreshadowing, you guys, so this is for you to understand, to know if you're going thrifting, if you're going shopping, to look out for these items because they're there. There is also a lot of hemlines with that fur lining in the Valentino show, and the garments don't really look like they should have that. Maybe like the dresses or the skirts in that. And Jacquemus with like little tails of fur. It's interesting. If we're talking about shorts, yes, hot pants are still with us. I regret to inform you. I wonder if they're just there for styling, or are people actually wearing them? I know the stars do. I would wear one for maybe a photo shoot or a day at the beach instead of my swim shorts and etc. But here we are. We're seeing it in different shows and different aesthetics, sometimes playful like in Prada and Miu Miu, a little bit on a voluminous side here, looking like a diaper, but we don't judge. We also see them for men, but not quite as short, you know what I mean? There might be looking a little bit more like the tomboy underwear situation. Versace also had the short shorts and the hot pants. We also see really cool ones in Acne Studios. I don't think they're super breathable, so that's going to be a problem for the gynecologist. We also see them kind of being a onesie. Maybe it's a bathing suit. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be worn on its own or not, but they're there and just looking like straight up underwear too, you guys. Okay, so Nina Ricci had some really short dresses with the really small underwear. We also see it in Chloe in a couple of really short things.
But joking aside, these pants or hot pants or lack them of create really, really long legs. If you are shorter in the leg department, then these ones gonna be great to elongate your legs for sure. But think about your hips as well. Because of their length, where they cut, they will definitely increase the size of the hips. So if you're paired body shape, maybe go for more higher cut on the side so it will skewer the perception.
Next one is a big one, you guys. It's the skinny jeans. Yes, the skinny pants, I said it. Okay, so we see a lot of them. Maybe they're not quite jeans, maybe they're more of like a stretchy material like we see here in Prada. We also see them a lot like leggings paired with underwear in Ferragamo. We see tighter pants on the runways. I'm not saying that the voluminous pants are out. I'm just saying that a lot more of the skinnier silhouettes are coming back in. Like here in Balenciaga, they just had leggings for pants and boots. We also see this in Courageous. We also see this in Diesel having more of the skinny jean effect. But they were, I don't want to say high-waisted, there were variety. I'm gonna say that there was a variety of the lower rise as well as the higher rise. I don't know. More leggings from Sony. Hopefully they're not super transparent, if you know what I mean. Off-White also had several of them, much more fitted versions of pants as well as Chloe, but these kind of looks like leggings again. Anyways, let's move on to suiting. You remember I did say that wider pants aren't quite out because we still have really wide suiting with us. Yay! This is probably the longest time we have seen what really oversized suiting, and it's again both men, women. We do have the new tendency of the blazers being a little bit more fitted in the waistline section, but here we still see very oversized suiting, and that's okay. I really quite like it, and I'm glad it's not going away because I have developed a really large collection of men's blazers from the thrift store, and I'm slowly but surely altering some of them just to fit that aesthetic of the hourglass shape. But here's Saint Laurent. Half of their show was women wearing really oversized menswear style office core vibes. Quite like it still. I like it. It might be overworn by some, but I love it. Okay, Stella McCartney bejeweled some of their excessively oversized items. Bottega Veneta, here we can see some male models and female models rocking the style, as well as Michael Kors. And yes, we have come to an interesting trend. There's going to be several really small trends that I just wanted to briefly cover. So let's just dive into them without any further ado. Let's hit the first small trend. This one is Tutu. Yes, J.W. Anderson as well as Simon Rocha and Loewe kind of had these really tutu-esque versions of skirts. I just wanted to let you know that they're out there. Maybe with the ballerina core, they made it to the runways. I'm not sure, but they're there for really adventurous people with their adventurous style. Here you go. You can try this out. Lace up is another trend that I wanted to mention. We have several designers of putting lace effects on some items that make sense, like lingerie and Dolce & Gabbana, or maybe a suiting. So I have definitely tried this for myself and upcycled a blazer by putting some punch holes and some lace through it to make it a little bit more hourglass, and I love it. We also see Moschino with more of a just basic laces tied around the garment and around the neck as an accessory. Several dresses of their backs completely laced up. I don't even know if their butts covered or not, honestly. Yeah, this is pretty cool, but still pretty frightening. We also see Isabel Marant with more of the bohemian style laces. This is definitely a trend for that as well. Very Western style. And Schiaparelli had several, corsetry with laces. Of course, this is nothing special. Very small trend again. It's the straps, but not worn as they're supposed to be. So either a slip dress kind of worn half up and it being turned invertedly, or the straps being just completely hanging backwards like it's a skirt, like here in Fendi. We also see Miu Miu like not wearing the straps as they were intended, and that is pretty much it. Very tiny trend. Another trend for the outerwear would be the cocoon. I've mentioned it before in my previous videos, and we still see these cocoon-esque shapes still with the outerwear in shows like Schiaparelli, Jacquemus, as well as Christopher Esber. Quite a lot of them, and this is definitely a really cool silhouette to try out. Zimmerman also had these balloon-esque outerwear shapes. Alaya had some interesting forms in there as well. And we also see just kind of the oversized silhouettes in Bottega Veneta, Balenciaga, with a lot of their really sporty outerwear jackets, either puffers or maybe some other type of jackets, but they had that shape for sure. and J.W. Anderson. Alright you guys, this was a long video and I truly appreciate you staying to the end. If you stayed and you're still watching, in the comments leave the 100 emoji or just 100. Let's see if my dream of reaching 100,000 will come true. Probably not this year. I'm quite far away from it too. But if you're wishing for me to grow and continue this YouTube journey, then please do comment that. I would really appreciate it. I'd love to know your opinions of where the fashion is going, what you see, what is the thread that is relevant for you. If you'd like to support me, all you need to do is like this video, maybe write me a nice little comment, and please follow if you're not already, and share if you really like it with somebody who loves fashion. If you'd like to see me and my everyday life, how I try to style these trends in my everyday life, then you should check out my Instagram where you can see my outfits, backstage runway shows, or interesting collaborative shoots. Well, you guys, this is all for me today. I'm gonna go and have a cup of tea because my voice is about to give up on me. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and yeah, stay classy. Bye.